An amazing question. Before we get to the question, let me answer the question. That's how I usually did it. First, we will honor the Christians that got their heads cut off for standing up for me. Have I read the Quran? Personally, I'm assuming you mean personally. Well, if I took my wife's tactics, which is funny to me that she remembers these tactics, she doesn't remember godly maneuvers, but she remembers my tactics. Get him drunk and he'll start spilling honesty. I was locked up once for throwing the podium down at Grace of the Nations, Tucson, Arizona, which turns out to be a felony. I didn't think it was worship property, but the state did. Worship in spirit and truth. ABCs of, loving God. Plus, Peter, I'm always going to pull Peter into it. Me and Peter both went to jail at that time. So I'm locked up with this dude, right? At the time, there's this other dude in there. He has a tablet. His tablet, I'm looking at him, he's looking at me. Do you want to listen to worship music? We're both like, you have worship music? I have worship music on the tablet, Lord. So I'm right where I'm supposed to be. It was an up and down like wave of what the heck is happening. And we're listening to some of my favorites. Kim Walker Smith comes on, like she's blasting throughout this entire pod. We're sitting there both listening to it at this little tiny table because you only get day room at a certain time, right? So this guy, he starts kneeling down. I say to him, doesn't your Quran mention Jesus more than Muhammad? He says, I'm from Iraq. I say, you're incarcerated. I'm pretty sure your Quran says something about that, right? We don't really believe in that. You're speaking for your people, I assume. Everybody's got people that are coming to visit them. I have no one. All right, Peter and John on the outs. I call them sometimes when I have this woman that I used to know suffering from lupus, and she's accepting the calls. The first covenant marriage that I had with my so-called person I married under church covenant. I'm writing letters to everybody. I make a phone call. I talked to her once. She's like, my electricity needs to be paid. Call my earthly dad. Technically, you're still my wife. We haven't we're divorced, but God won't let me stop taking care of you. So made the phone call because I was supposed to. Didn't expect you to receive it. Thanks for talking to me for 5 minutes. Have I read the Quran? Why would I? Now, I understand the Mahdi. I understand that I'm technically their Messiah as well. I understand that when I show up, all hell will break loose. I understand that part. I understand the covenant made with Abraham, but the covenant goes to Isaac. That is what I said. That does not make them any less. That does not make them any more. That does not make them anybody but the children of Ishmael. So I said I will make you a great nation. So I have an affinity towards the constant prayers. The problem I have with is who you're praying to and the level of violence you take it to. Now, if I want to bring violence, it's a little different. Like, I can have you not sleeping. I can have you tormented. I can bring it to a level of you're not even having the strength to get out of bed. Call it depression. I can take all strength from you, drain you, and not allow you to even walk. I can change your entire life in an instant. So I wouldn't take it to that level. Like, I'm pretty merciful with what I do. Peter asked me once, "Are you Allah and Jesus?" And I said, "No." I said, "They borrowed from what I wrote." I've gotten to many debates about this. My thoughts on it, it's Palestine. Figuring out the politics of a peace agreement on that is, to me, why? Other than I do care, but I could also see sometimes what God taught me was if I lose ground, it's only because I want to lose it. I'm gonna take more. I don't lose ground. It's your life and it's your children, and it's your family. So to me, it's more about your ground, your little earthly terrain versus what you're watering. What are you actually doing? What God are you serving, and what do you expect? How many people that read the Quran had me come into their dreams or meet me and say, "I put down my weapon at the minute I met him"? It happens often, so I'm not really surprised about it. And he's sitting there. He's on his face. He has his prayer thing out. There's just him. And there's me and my man's over here. He turns into a whole different creation. He was in the hole. He fought this dude, ended up in the same pod that I ended up in because God lined it up perfectly so I'd be there for him. I think the biggest thing that he couldn't answer was, but Jesus is in the Quran. Well, we think he was a prophet. I'll take him to Malcolm X days. Malcolm X himself explored it. And something about this isn't God. You had Malcolm really believe and then stopped. While Martin was marching and all of these things. The educational level of everybody that watched the YouTube video was great. I don't see how to answer the question without using scripture. Ecclesiastes, which is, I was writing this to all my people. Thank you for opening that door. I was writing Bible verses, and this is what's going on. If they open up those letters to this day, they'll see that I wrote just like I write in scripture, not plain speech. Without God, you can enjoy nothing. That's Ecclesiastes. So to me, if you were misled that way, tradition over maybe I didn't wake you up, maybe I didn't talk to you personally, but I've seen enough people that have read the Quran come to me and stake their life over it. So what that tells me, all it really did was create this incendiary fire inside of my heart against American Christians. I just look at you like, and you won't even do these one things I'm asking you to do with the comfort I've given you compared to over there. 8-year-olds with AK-47s that'll light you up, and you're taking a bus, paying insurance, complaining about gasoline prices. And then people stand up to me like they know scripture or they know something. To me, it's so frustrating because I just look at them and what have you actually done? Thank you for the question.